Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Watch Jala Code. This is day 5 of the Go series. Yes, today we'll be looking at arrays and slices. Let me actually change this. I thought I changed it. Last time on our last video, we looked at conditionals, but today we'll be looking at arrays and slices. So you guys are gonna learn along with me because I'm trying to learn Go, as you would as the title would tell you. This is learning Go with myself. This is day 5, and we are looking at arrays and slices. All right, let's dive right into it. As usual, we'll be using um, Go by example. So, using the Go by example website. So, let's jump right in. Go by example. Okay, so slices and an important data type. Okay, no, no, not slices. First, we start with arrays. So, I'm just going to go back. Yes, arrays. Go by example, arrays. In Go, an array is a numbered sequence of elements of a specific length. Okay, so I have programming experience, sorry. So I'm not really unfamiliar with arrays. They are a data structure for storing, uh, let's say, objects of different data types, like integers, strings, and whatever. But it looks like Go implements arrays in a different format from how I'm used to. So let's just read along. So in Go, an array is a numbered sequence of elements of a specific length. In typical Go code, slices are much more common. Arrays are useful in some special scenarios. Okay, so in typical Go, they use slices. Okay, so slices and arrays are different in Go. All right, and much more common. Arrays are useful in some special cases. So I think this is the example code. If you want to follow along, the website is the Go by Example website is gobyexample.com/arrays because we're on the array section. So this is the main pack. They're declaring package main. I always want to call it the main package, but it technically is the main package. They're importing the format module. Yeah, just basic setup. Then they initialize, and I believe this is because this is now the initialize variable. So this is how they initialize arrays in Go. So this is probably an array of length 5, but it's empty. And from our previous videos, we learned that when you store empty values in Go, at least of the integer type, an empty value is a 0. So the nil or the null value for integer types in Go is actually 0. So this may be an array filled with 5 zeros. Yeah. So here we create an array A that will hold exactly 5 integers. The type of element and length are both part of the array's types. By default, an array is 0 valued, which for integers means zeros. Yeah. So an uninitialized array like this one is for integers is filled with zeros. For if this was an array, okay, means Go arrays are also statically typed, meaning you can't just because in JavaScript you can put several things in an array. You can put a string, you can put whatever you want really, but I guess it doesn't work that same way in Go. Okay, so hold on a minute. I want to check on the stream. Okay, wait. Oh, stream status. Oh, uh-huh. Analytics. All right, let's let's resume. There's nothing I can do about this. I feel like my connection is great, but yeah. So package main import formats. So we can set a value at an index using the array index. Okay, so when we initialize an array, we can set a value at a particular index using array indexing. I think I'm already familiar with array indexing. So I guess we could try out declaring arrays in Go. Let's see. VS Code. So this is what we did last time. Yeah, this switch cases and if statements. So now let's do today's topic package. Main import fmt func main. Find the main function. And now let's initialize an array. So the var keyword array filled with like an array of length 5 filled with integers. Okay, so if we wanted to fill something, let's say we wanted to fill the last position, I wonder if arrays in Go are 0 indexed. So we can do fmc.println no, print line array. Then let's try running this. So first, let's change to the current directory. This directory is called hello. So we're going to do cd hello. Then I think it's go run. That's the command. Go run. We run what's in the current directory. This is taking more time than I would like. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we indeed did fill the last position of the array with an integer 89. Okay, so I guess we have basic array declaration down. Yeah, arrays in Go are they're statically typed. Statically typed. So you can't just inject whatever you want. And we can fill the arrays by indexing. Okay, we can fill arrays in Go by indexing, which is nice, I would say. Okay, a question. Oh, it's not really a question. I'm not doing it code. I'm not doing it code. Okay, so back to the browser. So we kind of understand this. So here we create an array A that will hold. Yeah, we've done this already. By default, an array is 0 value, and we can actually see that if we go back to VS Code, we can actually see that arrays can go at 0 value because after we filled 89, the rest are zeros. So let's check. So for example, let's say we declare the string array. What would it be filled with? Declared the string array. What would it be filled with? So str for oh no, I guess we can't do the shorthand. So variables. So a string array of length 4. Oh, okay, with the type string. So now let's print the string array. Let's see. So array comma str. Let's see what the zero values for strings in Go are empty strings. But let's actually see what this will produce. Okay, just produced an empty array. There are probably like 5 empty strings in this array. So if we did something like, if we filled in the 4th index, let's see what would happen. String str4, and we filled it with person. How would the others look? Index 4 out of range. Okay, this means if it tells us here that index 4 is out of range, it means that indexes in Go are 0 value. So the last index would then be 3 instead of 4. Go run. Let's see. Okay, so indeed, I think it prints a lot of empty strings here, like 3 empty strings, and prints the last one. So we know now that this would hold the 0 value for strings, to fill the array. Okay, and we also know that now we know that arrays in Go are 0 indexed. All right, now let's go back to the browser scene. I wasn't talking about lead code. Yeah, nobody's talking about lead code. Man, I haven't done lead code in a long time. Okay, now let's go back to the browser. Here we create an array A that will hold exactly 5 integers. The type of element and length are both part of the array type. By default, an array is 0 valued. Okay, we've done this. Yeah, we also know how we can index arrays using the basic way of doing it, array indexing. Anyone familiar with programming would probably be familiar with this as well. Okay, there's a built-in function called len that returns the length of an array. Okay. Oh, and we can use this syntax, declare. Okay, this is how they would write the shorthand for variable declaration, but for arrays. Okay. Okay, I guess I could understand this. Okay, now let's try out 2 things. Let's try out VS Code. VS Code. Let's try out the len function. So len. So let's print something. fmt.println, or we can create a variable. Let's say var length of array. So let's try this. Then array. This should return an int. Yeah, so length of array is of the type integer. No surprise. It means the length function gets the length of the array and returns an integer. The length of the array here, we already know because we initialized it ourselves. The length of the array here is 5. So we don't have to print this per se, but we could just add it there because we can't compile our code in Go if we have an unused variable. So this, the length function, let's see, returns an integer containing the length of the array. Okay, then now let's try the shorthand or in place method for array declaration. Okay, so var shorthand method. Okay, no, we don't need var because I'm doing the shorthand. So let's call it shorthand var. So that would be, let's see how they declared it because I don't remember. Browser scene. Okay. Okay, this is the syntax for declaring and initializing an array in one line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, format.println. Okay, I'll copy this. So we put the variable name, then the shorthand for assignment. Okay, then then define the array as we would normally, and then put some values in curly braces. Okay, understood. Let's go back to VS Code. I've almost forgotten, but I believe I'm aware. Yes, we're using the shorthand declaration. Shorthand declaration. Then let's say we are saying, oh, I have forgotten again. This is terrible. Luckily, I copied the code. Okay, so this is the shorthand method. So we state the length of the array, then the type, then we open a curly braces and impute them. Okay, so it's just like defining an array regularly, but now we can use the shorthand. So C, let's try our own C. Say we wanted a string array of 3, of a length of 3. So we'll then say string, then we can just fill it with empty strings. Now let's run this and see. Go run. Yeah, it just gives us our empty string array. This one is actually filled with the stuff we put here. Okay, how would we now loop? I know how to do a for loop. We learned that in our previous streams. So we can say looping through an array. I don't know how we would do this in Go. So let's see, for var do they have an in keyword? Okay, they do in B. Is this correct? No, I don't think this is correct. Oh, so how do they loop in Go? At least how do they loop through array for I range ing B? Let's see. Oh, I think this would work. Remember the fancy way of iterating with a range where we did something like, I think that was like 2 videos ago, where if we did range a number, that it will iterate from 0 to that number minus 1. So let's say the number was n, it will iterate from 0 to n minus 1. Yeah, I guess you can do the same for an array and iterate through all the array's values. So now let's print fmt the print line I index, no, I. Okay, now let's try it. So go run. Oh, it works. Oh, but I have a question. I think I here serves as the index and not the content of B. For example, if we did for I in, like for example, if this was Python and we did a for loop and we did for I in B, I would actually contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here we have I being 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning I here is equal to the index of the array. So I, okay, I'm gonna put a comment where I is equal to the index of the array. Okay, so if we wanted to actually get the array element, we'd have to index them. And I'm sure indexing works the same. So we can do B, then we use square bracket notation. Now if we try that again, we should have it print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And strangely, okay, makes sense. Looping through an array. Yeah, so we learned how to loop through an array. So this is looping through an array. We can use, I'm sure there are more ways to do it than this one. Let's try if we can do it some way, like for VARI, because the for loop is their only construct, right? Oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. But at least we found one way. We can check like the documentation for other methods, but this is one method we know works. We loop through the array this way. Okay, that's cool. That is cool. Browser scene. Okay. So we've done this and we now understand loop. Okay, look at how they loop. Indeed, I think this is the way they indeed loop in Go. So they use the shorthand syntax for I in range 2, for I in range 3. Then they access the element. Okay, I think I have a better explanation of what's occurring now that I've actually seen what they're doing. But we'll get there. So let's see. You can also have the compiler count the number of elements for you with. Okay, so we don't have to state the amount of elements when we are doing something like this. Okay. Okay. We can just in JavaScript this is called the spread operator. I don't know what they call it here, so I'll just call it spread. We can just tell the compiler to spread the values out, the values that we pass it in this curly braces. We can tell the compiler to spread it out as such, and we'd have things like this, which is okay. If you specify the index with colon, the elements in between will be zeroed. I don't know what this means. If you specify the index with colon, with a colon, the elements in between will be zeroed. Okay, let's try this before we move to that. So let's copy this and go to the browser scene, or the VS Code scene, sorry. Okay, so let's see. So here we spread the values we provide, allowing the compiler to count or count the element. Let's say count the element itself or elements. Then we just print the B. Okay, so remember in this while loop, I think what we do here is what the range is getting here. Why it's able to loop through, making I the index. I think it's doing for I in range length of B. It doesn't go through B, rather it goes through the length of B. So it's like if you are looping and you set a variable or a number of the length of B by calling the length function with length. It's like this, something like this could be happening in the background for this whole process. They get the length of B, then they loop through it. And that, I'm assuming everyone watching has an understanding of loops because we've covered that. If you don't, there's a looping section, I believe, in this. Okay, so yes. Now here they just allow the compiler to count the amount of variables itself rather than giving it a static number like how we do here. They just spread it out. So we can do something like we can see, okay, string man woman. Okay. Remember that this is, I'm not declaring a variable here, I'm reusing the variable we used here. And this the variable that what we did here was we created an array of length 3, and here it's saying value of type 2 string as 3 string value in assignments, meaning we would need an exactly 3 string array to fit back in C. So we can add one woman child, and it would now work because we have 3 elements, because C is an array containing 3 elements. initially when we initialize it. So we cannot just change that. After all, Go is a statically typed language. It still has to look like that. So if we printed it out now, we would see in place of the empty brackets that we see here, we would see man, woman, and child. So let's go. Let's try it. Go run. Man, woman, child. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. And yeah, the compiler automatically counted or inferred the length of the array because we use spread. So we can probably do this if you're writing an array and you don't know how long it's going to be. You can just use the spread operator to just spread the stuff out and ask the compiler to count. Maybe you just want to create maybe an arbitrary list of fruits and you end up writing more fruits than you expected. Huh. It tells us here that this value of C is never used because we replace it before we print it. Or else does something like this, but I've forgotten the exact dynamics. Okay, so now back to the browser scene. Back to the browser. Okay. So array types are one-dimensional, but you can compose types to build multi-dimensional data structures. Okay. So we're getting into like multi-dimensional arrays here. So this is a 2D array, basically an array of array. So they give, okay, this is like it's saying an integer array, okay, no, an array containing an integer array of length 3. So an array, okay, wait, let's interpret what this is saying. Let's go back to the VS Code thing and interpret what this is saying. So to us, this is saying create an array of length 2. So an array of length 2. Let's create an array of length 2. Okay, no. I don't know how to write multi-line comments in Go. Okay, but let's imagine this. We just have an array of length 2, right? Then this second statement now says fill that length 2 array with an integer array of length 3. So 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. This is basically what this is saying. This is a 2-dimensional array or a matrix, an array of arrays. The first one says create an array that can hold 2 things. Then the second statement then says let those 2 things be an integer array of length 3, which will look something like this. So if we were to print this out, okay, we have to print everything out because we can't have unused variables in Go. So if we were to print everything out, we will have like so that would be go run. Okay, my bad, go run. Now let's see. Yeah, basically an array of array. What this says is create an array of length 2 and fill that length 2 array with an integer array of length 3. So we're creating a container that holds 2 things, and each slot in those 2 things, or each slot in the array that holds 2 things should be an array that holds 3 things. So we have 3 times 2. So this is a 3 by 2 array, or should I say 2 by 3, 2 rows and 3 columns, 2 by 3, 2x3 array. Yeah, 2x3 array. Nice. Okay, now back to for those just joining the live, I thank you for your time. So I'm trying to learn Go from scratch. I already have programming experience, so I'm just learning a new language basically. You can check out the other stuff on my channel. I created a Telegram bot in JavaScript, Node.js yesterday. Oh, I'm still creating it. It's an ongoing process. That was the live stream we had yesterday. But today I'm learning Go. I'm continuing my Go journey. So yeah, okay, they are looping through the multi-dimensional array. Let's go through this loop to understand how they are doing it. This is how you loop in Go. Oh, we've seen this already. Let's go VS Code. Today we'll be covering arrays, slices, and modules. I don't know if we have time for modules, but it's already on the thumbnail, so I should write it down. Okay, so this tells us for I in range 2. Basically, if any of you know Python, this just says for I in range 2. So I will be, so there will come a period where I is equal to 1, then I is equal to 2. No, I will be equal to range. Oh, I'm new to this language, so it's not really easy to explain it. Range 2. Okay, so what this means is we iterate, this statement is to iterate from 0 to n minus 1. Here n is 2. So it will iterate from 0 to 1 basically. So we'll have a time where I is equal to 0 and I is equal to 1. So then J does the same thing, reiterates for from 0 to n minus 1, where n is 3. So we'll have a time where J is equal to 0, 1, and 2. So when I is 0, J is 0 as well. So we get the 0, 0, the element 0, 0, and add them together. Oh, I think what this does, we're going to change the value of the arrays of everything we have here. Would you still be adding zeros together? So at the end of the day, when we run this code, 2D will still contain an array of zeros. So this will add 0. It will add, we're adding across columns and rows. So it will add the thing in the first slot of the array. So this position, it will add it with everything here. It will add it with 1, add it with 2, and add it with 3, assuming this was what is in the array, but the array is filled with 0. Then it will take the second thing, which again is 0, and add it to every other thing. So this is just an addition of zeros. Okay, we can try, when we print out 2D again, it will still be 0, 0, 0, 0. If anyone has a better explanation than what I just said, you could please post it in the chat to also help me. But I'm pretty sure that should be what happened, or that is what happened. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I clearly did not know what I just said, because I thought that would end with all zeros, but it didn't. Now we have 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we are storing. Okay, my bad. Let me go through this again. My bad. Okay, so when I is 0, that's on the first run. We add it to, we add 0 to 0. So 0 plus 0, 0 plus 1, 1, and 0 plus 2, and 0 plus 2. That's why we have this. That's the first row in the array is being filled with 0, 1, and 2. We add the first element in this range to the things in this range. Oof, I feel like that's a terrible explanation, but that's actually what's going on. This is much explaining is much harder than I thought. But basically, they're adding the zeros. This is not difficult. This is very easy, and I believe everyone understands what I'm trying to say. This range, okay, let's say range 3 is an array or a container containing 0, 1, and 2, and range 1 is an array containing 0 and 1. What this does is add 0 to everything here for the first row and add 1 to everything here for the second row. That's why we have 0, 1, 2 again, because the first time we're adding 0 to 0, 1, 2, it doesn't change anything to each element in the array of 0, 1, 2. Then second time we're adding 1 to each element in 0, 1, 2, which will change things to 1, 2, 3. Basically, that's it. That's all that happens here. This is just addition in a 2D array. That's what changes the array to 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. If anybody has an opinion, you can just paste it in the chat. Okay. So now let's go back to the browser. I think we are done with arrays. Okay, there's also a shorthand of defining 2D arrays in place. It's like defining regular arrays, how we did it when we're defining regular arrays here. But in place of each number, we have another curly brace containing a set of numbers. So we can try this on our own to make our own 2D array. Let's go back to VS Code. Okay. So 2D array. 2D array. So let's get var 2D. Okay, so we have an array of 2 rows and let's say 3 columns. No, the assignment is not needed. The assignment operator, we don't do that here. And I'm trying to use the shorthand declaration. So the var keyword is also not needed. Man, learning is crazy. Okay, now we fill it with, because it's going to be an array of 2 rows. So this is row 1 and this is row 2. Then we fill row 2 with digits. Okay, because now we have to add the type. This is an integer. So this can be 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 5. Yes. This is a 2D array created using the shorthand method. It has, this says create a container that holds 2 things. and let those two things be an each of those two things should be an array that holds three integers. So this is the position for the first thing, and this is the position for the second thing. And both things are arrays of integer values. I want to check something. You said I should follow you. Oh my god, that's funny. I can if you want me to. I have no problem subscribing. Let me check Xeronix. I will do that. You see it right after the stream. Okay, but back to what we were doing. Browser scene. Now let's go. Okay, next we're looking at slices because we understand this to some extent. So now we're looking at slices. Arrays, to my understanding, are like, or slices are like arrays, but they are not arrays. We're about to find out. So slices are an important data type in Go, giving a more powerful interface to sequences than arrays. Okay. Unlike arrays, slices are typed only by the elements they contain, not the number of elements. Yes. So remember when we're creating an array, like wait, let me go back so I can explain this. Hold on. So when we were here, arrays in C, sorry, not in C, in Go, are typed by both their values or their length and the values they contain, the type of the values they contain. Like this is typed by a length of 3 because there are 3 things in here, and a type of string. So if we try to put, let's say we try to fill this with 4 elements, it wouldn't work. So let's try it. String, man, woman, dog, child. Now it wouldn't work. We would say value of type 4 string as 3 strings value in assignment. They cannot use it because this is not the type. The type was an array of strings with length 3. That's how the whole type was saved. But now what the Go by example is telling us that while arrays are done like this, slices are not. Meaning slices are only saved by their type. So if we created a slice, if we created a slice of length 3, we could still put in something of length 2 as long as the type matches. That's what they're saying. Here in for arrays, they have to be the same type. They have to be of the same type. So yeah, back to Vaccine. Okay. Unlike arrays, slices are typed only by the elements they contain, not the number of elements. Yes, I just explained this. An uninitialized slice equals to nil and has length of 0. Okay, so I guess this is how they initialize slices. It looks very similar to how they initialize arrays, but I guess it's of the slice type. So yeah, they check it out. The slice S is equal to nil. And if anyone here is familiar with programming, nil is the equivalent of null from like JavaScript or none from Python. And the length of an empty slice is 0 and is of type nil. So if empty slice, so if we did, for example, we wrote now in a Go statement, we did, if we wrote, for example, we wanted to write an if statement. Now we did if slice S, but slice S was empty. This would be false, so the if statement would never trigger because empty slices in Go, empty slices in Go are of type 0, of type nil. And you cannot do if null because null is false. It's a false value. So yeah, let's go back to the browser. To create a slice with non-zero length, use the built-in make. Okay, so we don't create them like how we create arrays, unless you want to create an empty one. We have to use the make function to make a slice. Okay, so here it looks like they're making a string slice of length 3, but the string size is also empty because we didn't fill it with anything. Okay, here we make a slice of length 3, initially 0 valued. Yes, 0 when they see 0 valued in Go, it just means that the thing is empty. The container does not hold anything. It's like how we say null in JavaScript or none in Python. By default, a new slice capacity is equal to its length. If we know the slice is going to grow ahead of time, it is possible to pass a capacity explicitly as an additional parameter to make. Okay. We can set and get just like with arrays. Yeah. Okay. Like the array indexing syntax, how you set and get stuff. Okay. Len returns the length of slices as expected. So slices, they basically look like arrays, but they look to be more flexible. In addition to these basic operations, slices support several more that make them richer than arrays. One is the built-in append. Okay, yeah, because arrays are of a fixed type. We can't append to them, but we can append to slices. That's nice. Okay, let's create a slice. They said we should use the make keyword, right? So let's go. VS Code scene. So let's create a slice. var slice is equal to make. How do we use make? The function make. Okay, the make built-in function allocates and initializes an object of type slice, map, or chan. Okay, only. Like new, the first argument is type, not the value. Okay, so the first argument to give it is the type of what we want to make. Okay. Unlike new, makes return type is the same as the type of its argument, not a pointer to it. The specification of the slice depends on the result. Okay, let's see. They don't have an example, but we assume we can do like we want a string array, right? So we can do array string, and let's see. Then the size. Let's say we want a string array of length 3. So yeah, we just successfully made one. If we print this to the console, the print line, we can print the slice. This should just be just an empty array. So that would be go run. Yeah, just an empty array. But because slices are like arrays, we can do slice 9. Okay, no, 9 is out of bounds. Slice 3. And initialize it to something like man. Okay, no. There are 0 index. So the last slice would be 2. When I say 0 index, I mean that arrays and slices in this case are, if you want to access the element of an array, you access based on the count of your location. For example, let's say we have an array that looks like this, 4,5. Yes, and you wanted to access the 5th position of the array. You do that via array indexing or just indexing. So we count, and indexing is 0 based in most programming language. In Go, it's 0 based. So we go. So let's say we want the first thing here is index 0. So if we wanted to get 1 in this array, we would have to do array array 0, and this would get us the value tied to 0, which is 1. If we wanted to get 5, we would do 0 is 1, 1 would be 2, 2 would be 3, 3 would be 4. So the index for 5 would be 4 because it's 0 based. Array 4 would now give us 5. Yeah, so if we now, so here I just assigned a slice M2. I assigned a string of man to the last index of slice. Whenever you are, if we make something like this, we can know that the length is the number we passed, just -1. 3, so 3 minus 1 is the length of this slice, which is 2. So if we index to 2, we'll get the last position. And here we get the last position and set it to man. So if we print out slice, it should have some spaces containing empty strings. Like here, it look like this, but instead of person, we would have man. So we can try it out. That would be go run. Yep, man. Fantastic. Now let's go back. Let's go back to the browser. Let's see. Yeah, we can set and get just like with arrays. Yeah, we just established that. We can get the length of the array. If, for example, you have an array that you don't know, you can use the length function and call the array as an argument of the length function. This is standard. I think it's the same in Python. In addition to these basic operations, slices support several more that make them richer than arrays. One is the built-in append, which returns a slice containing one or more new values. Note that we need to accept a return value from append as we may get a new slice value. Okay. So we can add something to a slice because their types are not static. Their types can change. Sorry, their length can change. Arrays, the length of arrays in Go cannot change. You cannot change the length, but you can change that for slices. So if we go back to the VS Code scene, let's go VS Code scene. Okay, slices. And we did slice. Okay, no, we did append. And let's what's the information on the append function. The append built-in function appends elements to the end of a slice. Yes, it has sufficient if it has sufficient capacity. The destination is resliced to accommodate element. It does not. a new underlying array will be allocated. Append returns the updated slice. It is therefore necessary to store the result of append. Okay, okay. So we have to store the result. I thought append works like an in place change to the array, but no, it returns a value. So we have to point it back to the slice variable. So we can do slice equals to append. What does append take? Append takes this type of the slice. The type of the slice is string, and the element we want to append. So we can do string. No, I believe. Wait. Yeah, first it takes the slice. Okay, the slice is slice. So I guess this was a bad name choice. Then let's say we wanted to add woman to the array. Yeah, let's do this before we print slice. Okay, let's do it after. Let's do it then. Let's print slice again. Format of print line. Slice. Yeah. Let's run it. Go run. Yep, it just added something to the array. Nice. So this is how we append stuff to slices in Go. We can't append to arrays, but we can append to slices. Okay, that's nice. We can't append to array, but we can append to slices. And we have to get, because append returns something. It's a function that returns something, so we have to put it back in a container. The container being the variable we first initialize as the slice. Okay. Browser scene. Let's go back to the browser. So yeah, at least we understand appending now. Yeah, we found that out ourselves, but it says it here as well. We need to accept the return value from append as we may get a new slice value. Slices can also be copied. Here we create an empty slice C. Okay, so this is an empty slice of length S. Okay, and we copy it. We copy what is in S to what is in C. That's nice. And we print the copy. Slices support a slice operator with the syntax slice low high. For example, yes, what I know slicing as is you are cutting. It's like we can call slice a view of an array. Like for example, we go back to the VS Code thing. A slice is usually a view of an array. Like we can have a slice of 2 to 4. That's what I know slices as. They are a picture of an array. Like in Python, a slice is a picture of an array. It is like a part or piece of an array. That's a slice. So I guess it's the same thing here. You can, and there's a slicing syntax. In Go, the slicing syntax is the same as the one we have in Python or similar. For example, we wanted to get a new variable C. Let's use the shorthand. So we sliced the low. So we sliced from 0 to 1. Okay, so VR. View. Let's call this a view. Yeah, so view should be a slice that contains what is in the 0 to 1 range, which is nothing. But if we did 0 to 3, which is the length of the array, so now view should contain an exact copy of slice. So let's do slice comma view, and let's remove this outer array. Let's go. So 0 to 3. So this is the slice, and this is the original array. Sorry, this is our view, and this is our slice. This is our slice, and this is our view. Apparently, this index from 0 to 3. How does slicing here work? Because we know our slice is of length 3. So this just took. Okay, but it didn't take the last index. Wait, I don't understand. Let's go to read. Okay, so this slice is up to but excluding. Okay, let's read it. So this slices from 2 to 5. For example, this gets a slice of elements S2, S3, and S4. So yes, we know that S is an element of length 3. So you can't get elements 3 and 4 because there's nothing there. Okay, when we slice, we start from the first element and end at the high. So we start from the low and end at the high, but the high is not inclusive. So slice 5, if there was a fifth element, it would not include slice. It would index, or it would get us from, so for like this, it would get us from the element at index 2, the element at index 3, the element at index 4, but it wouldn't get us the elements at index 5. So the length of a slice can be said to be low minus high, or high minus low rather. So the length of this slice would be 3. Okay. Okay, we can declare and initialize a variable for slice in a single line as well. So this is the shorthand syntax of initializing a slice. It looks a lot like the shorthand way of doing it. Okay, but no length. The difference between this and the shorthand for writing an array or for declaring an array is that there is no length in the brackets. Okay. Hmm. Hmm, 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 hmm. Okay. Hmm. All right. No problem.